years in prison. At the end of that term, he was to be sent to Israel to face his charges there, but he somehow got away and fled to other parts of Europe. Now, it is this point in the story where we will meet our first well-known victim, and she's well-known because of these documentaries. Like, I'm sure these Finnish women have stories to tell as well, I'm sure. But we have yet to hear them, really, so we are going to hear the story of Cecilia. Her last name is, wait for it, Fjelljoy, Fjellhoy. Okay. She is from Norway, and she was living in London in January 2018. She was looking on Tinder for a match when she came across Simon, and he was 28 at the time, and his profile looked amazing. He had it all. He was rich. He was good looking. He had pictures of himself traveling all over with fancy cars, fancy clothes, in airplanes, jets, whatever, it looked amazing. So, of course, she, swiped right. I think that's what it is. I've never used Tinder. And there was a match. She met him, and he truly seemed to be exactly what he said. Now, she did Google him, okay? She did her homework. And it all seemed to line up. He said he was a billionaire, and that he was the son of a man who owned this diamond business in Israel. And that is why he was always flying all over the place and doing lots of fancy entertaining, and he had to keep up his image, and he also traveled with a bodyguard. And he said he needed this bodyguard because he had a lot of enemies because of working for his father in the diamond business. So the bodyguard was a necessary thing to, protect him. We do not know what the deal is with this bodyguard, like where he came from, what he was, what. We don't know yet. But he wined and dined her, he took her on his jet, he, had picked her up in these fancy cars, and, it was a dream come true. So she confronts him. He says, okay, I'm gonna send you a check. Don't worry about it. He sends her a check for $500,000. Now I'm talking in like US dollars, so it would be different numbers for wherever they are. He sends her $500,000, and she's like, oh, thanks, that is so sweet of you. Like, you didn't have to. But okay. She goes to, deposit the check, and it's no good. So she speaks to him, and he's like, oh well, sorry, I tried. It's not my problem. I paid you back. I gave you a check, and if it doesn't work, that's not my fault. That's literally what he said. So she contacts the bank, and they come to talk to her, and it turns out, after some discussion and exploration, they tell her that he is a wanted con man, and that he's a total fake, and he's been doing this sort of thing. And they tell her about the Finnish women that he defrauded, and his warrant in Israel. So she is totally screwed at this point. So she goes home to Norway to be with her mother, because she's broke and completely upset. Obviously, upset is not the word. Much worse than that, okay? And while she's there in Norway, she really starts to feel so awful that she even considers taking her life. So she checks herself into a psych ward there. And then she decides, you know what? I am not just going to let this go. I'm going to go talk to the newspaper. The Norwegian paper that I mentioned So she speaks to him. She's like, I need my money back. I really need it. And he says to her, okay, meet me in Munich. That's in Germany. And I'm going to give you one of my Rolex watches. They are worth a lot of money, so you can sell it. So she agrees, and she tells the newspaper what she's doing, and they go with her secretly. So she goes to some fancy hotel and has like dinner or lunch with him, and he gives her the watch. And then when they go to leave and they're standing outside by the car, he notices the photographer from the newspaper. He notices him taking a picture through a crack somewhere in a fence. And he starts like screaming in Hebrew to his, I don't know, was his bodyguard or his driver or whoever it was. And Pernilla's like, what's happening? So he tells her, there's a photographer taking pictures of us. And right away she is really scared, because she didn't know if he thought she was involved in it, but he grabbed her really fast, pulled her into his car, and they took off at like 100 miles an hour. So she's like, I better say something that makes it sound like I have nothing to do with this. So she's like, what is happening? He's like, they're my enemies are after me. And she's like, and now they're after me too, because I'm with you. And he's like, no, they just want me. So she's like, pull over and just let me out. So he does. And she goes home, back to Stockholm immediately. And she goes to a jeweler, and he says, this watch is a fake. So she calls Simon and she tells him, I know what's up, okay? The watch is a fake. I know about what you've been doing. I've heard the whole thing. You know, I know about Cecilia. You're doing the same thing to me that you did to her. And he's like, it's not true. It's all made up. It's all lies. And he threatens her. So, and that was the end of that. They publish the story. And then this other woman, her name is Ayleen Charlotte, or Ayleen, Ayleen. Let's say Ayleen. She is from Prague in the Czech Republic. And this is his girlfriend. She has been his girlfriend for 14 months, and there's been a lot of overlap between these three women and probably many other women as well. But she sees the article from VG called The Tinder Swindler. Mind you, she met him on Tinder as well. So she sees the photos, she reads the story, and she's like, this is my boyfriend. And she is just shocked beyond belief, because she's been giving him money too. She's given him $140,000 that she also didn't have. So she speaks to him about it, and he's like, it's not true. None of it is true. Trust me. So she decides that she's gonna play along or sell your house or something, you know. I really need your help. So she says to him, well, you know what? You have a ton of really expensive clothes and they're in great shape. I can sell them for you because, in truth, she worked in the fashion industry. So she's like, I'll sell them for you and I'll give you the money, and that should be a little bit of help. In her head, she's thinking, I'll sell them for you and I will keep the money. Not that she's gonna get 140, but still. I mean, he's got really, really, really expensive stuff, okay? So he agrees and she goes to his place. She packs up 3 suitcases of stuff. She's got like the Gucci shoes, the Versace belt, you know, the Louis Vuitton, whatever, like the Chanel. He has it. All these things are very expensive, okay? Very expensive. So she goes back home with it and she lists it all on eBay and she's selling it. You know, and she's making thousands. We never really find out how much, but she made a little bit at least. But he kept contacting her, like, okay, how's it going? Did you sell anything? You know, and she's kind of putting him off. And after a while, he figures it out, and he's like, you're not gonna do this to me. What are you doing? And he's threatening her, and he's yelling at her. And, how you tricked me? It's like, are you kidding right now? She tricked you. How does it feel? you're in